We are live. So, greetings from Tokyo, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and we will begin momentarily with a discussion, a chat, and a another live stream regarding this film directed by basically everyone, which is Casino Royale from 1967. So, the great work the great work. Let's the Charles Feldman work. Let's call it that. And it's a very wild ride. So I look forward to the discussion today. But let's hold on for a few, maybe a minute or so more, and then we will begin. So I see that. Oh, goodness. The I see Damn Fool is here and Zyrother is here. Hello. James Fountain is here. Hello. A fascinating artifact of the 60s spy mania era, even though it is not a quote unquote good movie. Yes. Mike is here. Hello. Oh, it's nice to see you. Yes. So we will begin momentarily. So just hold on for one moment and we will begin. You can, of course, pass the time as we wait by doing anything at your own leisure. Magic tricks, baccarat. Oh, Erwin is here. Hello. AVG Film is here. Hello. It's nice to see you. And you say, I watched this a while back. I loved it. Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Damn fool. It breaks so many rules that it becomes a special experience. Huh. Brian Riel, hello, it's nice to see you. You say, finally, first time catching one of these Bond live streams. Thank you very much for stopping by. Most appreciated. Thank you. Let me just right here. That's better. And Jay Williams is here. Hello, it's nice to see you. Zyrother. Yes. Harry Evangelion is here. Hello. It's nice to see you, Harry Evangelion. Okay, we will begin momentarily. Sorry for the somewhat late start, but I hope you can forgive me. This is going to be a very interesting one to talk about. There's so much to talk about. So much because it's all over the place, as we know. And so it'll be fun to try to talk a little bit about this. Okay, so shall we begin? Yes, I think we should begin. So great. So greetings from Tokyo, my dear friends. Once again, this is Daisuke, and thank you so much for stopping by. I know that everyone is busy, and I know we all have our own schedules. So despite that, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that you were able to stop by, even if it's for a little bit. Truly, I'm grateful because today we are continuing on with our James Bond film discussion live streams. And as people who have attended know, but if this is your first time, what these are the live stream format is used by me on this channel to talk with you and to hear your thoughts about certain feature-length James Bond films. And we've been going through as many of them as possible. So now we have reached the point where we are now going to be talking about the 1967 film from the producer mind of Charles Feldman and from many directors with many people in the cast. Many people are involved. And this is the 1967 film Casino Royale. It is a James Bond film. It's considered to be a type of spoof. It is a very audacious film in many respects, and it has so many elements, both in front and behind the screen, that make for, I think, fascinating discussion and retelling of tales of what happened, and what happened with this particular scene and this particular star, and what was the calculus involved in putting all this stuff together, because it's great, it's all over the place, it's great, I love it. So in any event, this is a discussion of this work, Casino Royale. Now, before we get into any specifics, I'd like to, as I always do, just set forth a few preliminary points, which are as follows, I should say. So first, let me say that we will be talking, of course, about the 1967 Casino Royale. And so if you haven't seen the film, I encourage you to stop watching this live stream for now, and then go and try to find a version of Casino Royale, and then you can watch it at your own pace. And then when you are finished, please feel free to come back anytime. Even if you can't make it to this actual live stream, this live stream should be uploaded as a video after the fact. So you can always come back anytime if you are still interested. But once again, just let it be known that I will be talking about specific parts of the film, and we will be talking about specific parts of the film. And there are indeed a number of great thrills and surprises and the like. And so it's worth watching for the first time as fresh as possible, if you can. So that's what I encourage those of you who haven't seen the film yet. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I don't approach this in any capacity as any kind of expert. I don't claim to be any expert on this or any other film. I am approaching this as a fan of this film, having seen it on a number of occasions since I was quite young. And so, and also as a fan of the Bond films overall, writ large. This has a very maybe unique or unusual place, perhaps, in that particular conception of the Bond films. And we'll, of course, talk about that to the extent possible over the course of today's discussion and talk. But that's where I'm coming at this from, which is, again, as a very casual fan. And so there will be a number of things that I won't be able to answer because I don't know the answers. But there are so many people here in the chat who are so knowledgeable, much more knowledgeable than I. So hopefully you can find the answers to any questions that you may have. But again, the the point of this discussion is hopefully just to have fun and enjoy another talk about a film that we have all seen. And speaking of which, of course, also the live chat function is available for you. So please feel free to leave your comments in the live chat box. There are already a number of people here already, so thank you very much, my dear friends, for stopping by. And so, as always, you always show me and everyone else mutual respect, and you are so polite and very kind, even when there are disagreements or when there are even debates or that sort of thing. You always treat people with respect and courtesy, and I'm so appreciative of that. And I'm so grateful that you are so kind in that way. And I will rely on you going forward to continue the spirit of mutual kindness and respect. So thank you very much for that as well. As always, I really appreciate that. And again, I will try to talk to as many people in the chat as possible. If I miss your name, please forgive me. It's not my intention to. It's just a 100% accident on my part. Um, I, I tend to make mistakes in that way, so I apologize profusely in advance. But I will try to mention as many people as possible. And also, I should say that maybe I will try to focus primarily on the film itself, Casino Royale '67. But I will be talking about some other films, but primarily I do want to focus my energies on this film for the most part here. And then, so if you have any questions or comments for me that are non Casino Royale related, then I apologize in advance, but I might just skip over those just for the in order to be able to focus on today's topic, which is this film. But if you still are interested, please feel free to leave a comment or question under any other video on this channel, and I will do my best to respond. I usually respond to the comments, so if you still have that question and you want to let me know, then let me know, and I will try to address it under a separate video. So, all right, so I think we will begin right now, but before we go, let me just see here. Let's see. Sorry about this. Erwin, I said hello earlier, but it's not. Let me say hello again, Erwin. Hello. Brutus, always mind. Hello, a Bond I haven't seen. Looking forward to your insights. Okay. Oh, Chiggers is here. Hello, the Misfit Pond. Hi, embarrassing, but I've never seen a classic Bond film. There's so many out there, Misfit Pond, or the Misfit Pond, excuse me. So, if you are still interested, I hope that you are able to catch up with some of those classics. So, and if you do, please let us know. I'd love to hear your thoughts anytime, anytime. Let's see. Jay Williams says, sometimes I lie and wonder, how did they get Citizen Kane in this movie? I mean, there are so many directors in this movie. That's another, both behind the camera, of course, and in front of the camera. So that's another thing I do want to touch upon. Zyrother says, Citizen Kane wishes it was as good as this film. Zyrother, my dear, dear friend, we did it. Thanks to your poll idea, we've gone through it. So Zyrother, and others, of course, here, but Zyrother, let me just say thank you so much. We did it. We did it. So we went through all the Bond films, or we were about to. Dave, let's see. Damn full idealistic crusader, let us begin and pass the lions. Yes, yes. Um, oh yeah. So, um, and the intestines and all. Yeah. So, and David Calhoun says, speaking of Kane, it's in the theaters again. Oh, great, great. It's nice to see. And David, it's nice to see you. Cooper Glover is here. Hello. You say you haven't seen this film in a long time, so you might not say. That's okay, my friend. No worries. No worries at all. Hanok is here. Hello. And let's see. James Hahn says Dahlia Lavi alone justifies the film. Oh, yes. And her character is very, very important, as we know, in terms of the interactions. In terms of the interactions with Dr. Noah. So that's a very key point in the bomb. So it's thanks to her. Well, I guess maybe and then she ends up going down the what do you call it, the she doesn't have enough stamina according to Sir James Bond. But in any event, it's thanks to her that the final act reaches its full heights of momentum, and the 18, 17, 16, 6, etc., all the way down to boom, and then the end. Yeah, so it's great. But yes, so let's see. All right, Mix Memorabilia is here. Hello. It's nice to see you. Yes, yes. This live stream feels great. Oh, thank you so much. It's my first time, and oh yes, and my 007 knowledge is very limited. I will say Sean Connery versus Roger Moore. And Zyrother, yes. David Prowse, yes, yes. Frankenstein monster, yes, yes. If you need, if you need to know how to end a film with the climax scene, what do you need? Get David Prowse as Frankenstein monster, Jean-Paul Belmondo. Get a bunch of uh, George Raft, and just get a casino with an atomic bomb exploding device and a pill, and fighting, and westerns and all. Yeah, so it's all in there. It's all in there. Um, It reminds me a lot of the what if scenario of Doctor Strangelove, the Kubrick film, and the pie fight. So it reminds me a lot of the what if scenario. It's like a what if scenario come to life in a type of almost experimental mode. So um, and so anyway, yes. Let's see. So oh, Jared is here. Hello, Jared. It's nice to see you. Great, great. And you say, I know Peter Sellers didn't like this film. Yes, there's a lot of behind the scenes drama when it comes in particular to Peter Sellers. And so that's been documented in a number of places. For instance, in the multi-part making of documentary series that's available on the DVD or Blu-ray, and so you can get the you can get a little bit of insight into what was going on with the Peter Sellers stuff and his working relationships with a number of people on the set. For instance, Orson Welles and Jacqueline Bisset as well. Um, Jacqueline Bisset has a really kind of scary story, which is, I think, backed up by Joseph McGrath about a certain prop that's used in her scene with Peter Sellers and a blank gun or gun, excuse me, that shoots blanks, but it was there's a type of accident that occurred. Um, let's see. Uh, uh, Aditya, hello, year 2067, Daisuke. This live stream of yours will be one of the special feats in whatever form physical media takes up by then. Thank you very much. You're very kind. You're very kind. But physical media, let's see. Uh, Pyongyang.gov. Do people ever call you Dice Man, Andrew Dice Clay, or just? I've heard, I know some, not many people. One person called me Dice K, like dice as in rolling the dice, and then K, the letter K. But no, I have no, I have no, I have no, yeah, I have no, uh, I don't mind in the slightest. So thank you very much for the kind comment. Matt Flaherty is here. Timothy, Mathis is here. Carl Hayes is here. Hello, it's nice to see you. Tom Yanowitz is here. Yanowitz Short Films, excuse me. Obsessed with all things 1967. Oh, interesting, very interesting. Kieran C is here. Hello. Hello, it's nice to see you. Yes, yes. Erwin says you even had a Peter O'Toole cameo. Yes, the wonderful Peter O'Toole cameo. Yes. Shock horrors here. Hello. All right. So sorry, and then we have so many others. So many people. It's like a festival or a carnival, much like this film Casino Royale 1967 is. This is a festival. This is a carnival to the max. This is a film like it's like an omnibus film in that there are many parts made by many different directors, but at the same time, it's trying to create this whole. It's a zany mix of things, of people, of characters that go in and out. They appear and then they disappear, sometimes to appear later suddenly, like William Holden, or maybe they appear and then they don't ever come back again. I'm not sure. They appear just for a little bit. Flag Chabal comes to mind. We see one of the two Ronnies, and then so and that goes to the other point here about how it is very much of it feels like a jigsaw puzzle type of thing, right? We have the little bit here with everyone trying to bring Sir James Bond back into public service, and then we have the bit with M. McTarry and Mimi, and then all of a sudden the who has the best Scottish accent and grouse hunting, and then suddenly stone balls and throwing of stone balls, and that turns the tide for Mimi and her allegiances with Smersh, as we know, and the whole thing about beautiful women and how this is leading to this idea of this version of James Bond as portrayed by David Niven, excuse me, is a type of an homage and also an antithesis to the James Bond that we know as of now in 1967, right? Because this is the big thing. which is that by now James Bond as a cinematic character is a phenom. It's an icon. He is an icon. You're already reaching the levels of Goldfinger Thunderball, and then a few pretty soon after this film, it will get You Only Live Twice, and so this will have this type of phenom effect. And it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And so here we have on an alternative stream, we have Charles Feldman and what ended up being the rights that he was able, through some really interesting line of a train of rights, he was able to obtain the rights to the cinematic portrayal of this story by Ian Fleming, which is Casino Royale. But therein lies a conundrum: what to do when you have the parallel Eon films and you don't have all of the ingredients that seem to be leading to the enormous critical and financial success of those films, including perhaps and perhaps most prominently the absence here of the star of those films, Sean Connery. So what do you do? What we understand happening, of course, is we end up approaching it from the spoof comedy angle. So this is kind of what we get. We get this spoof comedy film, which is on the one hand this film that therefore allows for so many things to be stuffed in terms of its space within the frame of the camera. And also we have many different directors focusing on their own components, and we have all these components perhaps linked together. A special shout out to Val Guest and his efforts to try to link all this stuff together. And then just to, excuse me, to create a story that still feels very much zany, bonkers, off the wall, really, really off the wall. And you get in the mix, I mentioned, for instance, David Niven. You also get Peter Sellers, Evelyn Tremble, also James Bond. That's another thing here too. There are so many James Bonds here. It's almost hard to keep track. But we have this conceit of the use of the name James Bond for certain field agents in order to try to contribute to some overall plan by the real James Bond, Sir James Bond, played by David Niven, who's now taking the place of M, or McTerry, who, of course, was seen early in the film, but then his character was essentially, it disappeared, or he disappeared due to certain explosions and explosive actions that we understand were of his own doing and of his own making, from a manner of speaking. And so, through a whole set of machinations involving McTarry's and Scotland, which I understand was really Ireland, and also the Mimi and Smirsh, and the attempt to essentially corrupt James Bond, because the whole idea is James Bond here is a type of, he is someone who is not, how should I put it? He doesn't necessarily enjoy the company of the ladies, but rather he focuses in on the mission and tries to avoid those sorts of things. Much, I think, quite the opposite, perhaps, of the type of image that, say, the other James Bond had, in terms of how much that James Bond really enjoyed the company of women, as well as pursuing the mission, as it were. And so that's part of the conceit in terms of trying to avoid the what's the phrase, to avoid those, or resist those temptations, as it were. And that therein lies part of the kind of the odd twist, as it were, of this particular film. But that's not the only odd twist, of course. It's not the only focus, but it's also the spy craze that's involved, the gadgetry, the use of the name James Bond, and then Smirsh, and then we have the story component as well. Oh, not to mention, of course, the whole thing with Mata Hari and Mata Bond, and going to Berlin, and the Berlin Wall, and the whole thing about the training house with the au pairs, which ends up being a station for blackmailing certain government officials from all over the place. And Vladik Shabal is there in terms of the auction and the standing up, sitting down, the split down the middle between the white light and the red light. Wow, and the exploding telephone booth. And then going to Le Chiffre and the whole component bit between Le Chiffre and Evelyn Tremble and Vesperlin at the casino. This is the Casino Royale component. The whole thing is that up to now we have gotten hints of the story of Le Chiffre needing to save money because, as we understand it, based on the information, he is also a gambler, and he has used Smersh funds in order to gamble, and so he needs to get that money back. And so he's tried certain plots. They seem to have failed, but now he needs to win the money back, and he will try to do it at the baccarat table. And where will that lead to? That will lead to the Secret Service needing to use Vesper Lind in order to find this baccarat expert, Evelyn Tremble, who will then be James Bond, or use the name James Bond in order to confront Le Chiffre at the baccarat table. Le Chiffre, who is also a magician and also very charming, he has a certain magnetism and charm, as portrayed, of course, by the one, the only Orson Welles. And so we have Peter Sellers as Evelyn Tremble / James Bond, Ursula Andress as Vesperlin, who is a very complex character. Vesperlin has always been a complex character, and also in the hands of Ursula Andress, she still remains quite a complex character, even down to the oven and the chute where she disposes of certain corpses. So that leads to certain twists of allegiance, as it were, and double cross, in a psychedelic dream induced state of smoke and machine gun bagpipes at the end. And Peter O'Toole makes an appearance, as someone so astutely mentioned, as we know. But here we have this final showdown, as it were, between Le Chiffre and Bond, and Vesperlin is somehow involved. So this is that component of the story, Casino Royale, that if you know the underlying work, or even if you know, say, the later film which also has the title Casino Royale, starring Daniel Craig, you will recognize that this is the main component of that particular story. The confrontation between Bond and Le Chiffre at the gambling table in order to prevent Le Chiffre from winning. And of course, what happens is Evelyn Tremble / James Bond, played by Peter Sellers, of course, wins out in the end in a very thrilling baccarat finale. But then that leads to um, the kidnapping of Vesperlin, the sort of torture of Bond through some happenstance that is very, very convoluted. What's going on? Suddenly, what's this thing with the Lotus 3, and then drives? Suddenly, he's captured, and of course, we can understand that there is a lot of perhaps behind the scenes intrigue that might have led to certain decisions of editing or lack of footage, etc. But then we have this psychedelic assault on the senses, but then leads to the revelation of Vesperlin being a type of double agent. I think, perhaps, I'm not sure, but she does betray Evelyn Tremble / Bond, or perhaps it was the producers, in terms of one straw too many, as far as Peter Sellers and what he was doing. But in any event, we have that. We also have the assassination of Le Chiffre through the psha, and the screen, the TV screen, cha, boom, and everything explodes, and then all the way back to the end, where you have the final confrontation between all the elements that are surviving and Smersh. Who is behind Smersh? Dr. Noah. But who is Dr. Noah? We realize that Dr. Noah is Jimmy Bond. Jimmy Bond, the nephew, as portrayed by none other than Woody Allen. And so the this leads to a type of final showdown in the depths of Casino Royale. What is it? You have to push. What is it? The tiger, right? And so and to get that elevator thing moving. and then Jimmy Bond having a type of a number of psychological sort of based motives behind his plan as Dr. Noah. So his plan seems to involve making robot duplicates of world leaders, and also causing destruction so that only certain people, certain men who maybe, what's the phrase, maybe have a certain height disadvantage, will survive. And thus the idea is that they will have, it's a kind of, from his vantage point, a type of democratic way of leveling the playing field, so that what is it? Even even the short people will end up being able to score with a beautiful woman. That's the whole conceit behind Dr. No or Jimmy Bond. And also, there's a type of chip on his shoulder in terms of how he feels about or against his uncle. And there's a whole thing about how he can't speak in his presence, etc. So there's a sense of nervousness, but he also wants to get back at him for some reason. That leads to the final showdown in the casino. Bam, boom, all the things coming. They everything's happening. Boom, and then and then they go. Some go to heaven, some go to hell. The end. Boom. All right. So that's Casino Royale in a nutshell, I suppose. There's so much more that I haven't mentioned, of course. So I'll try to mention that before. So I think now we can see that it's a very this is great. It's all over the place. Now, uh, it's I think also maybe a film that is not necessarily universally loved and beloved film. There are its detractors, excuse me. There are the people who do criticize it. It is very different from the type of James Bond films that we are seeing on the other side. So maybe that's one way of looking at it. It is a spoof, but it does feel very disjointed. There's so many things going on, so maybe that's another thing that might be seen as being something against it. And so, for anyone who, for instance, is here and you don't like this film, or you think it's silly or stupid or something like that, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Please, please let us know too. Let me know. I'd love to hear your comments or thoughts anytime about that. That's really important as well. And I know this film isn't for everyone. And so this isn't meant to be any type of debate. Oh, you must like this film, otherwise, go. No, nothing like that at all. Nothing like that at all. But um, so it's okay to express maybe disappointment or displeasure with a number of elements, or maybe the entire package, as it were, of this film Casino Royale from '67. That's fine. That's fine. But I do think that, from my vantage point, even though it's not necessarily, say, the the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life, it still holds a lot of, I think, wit, and also holds a lot of earnestness, and from a certain manner of speaking. And there are some details. There are a lot of details that are very, very funny. They're so odd. These choices are really odd and strange and funny. Very, very funny. And it leads to certain possibilities. And it is fun to think about. It is really fun to think about in the whole grand scheme of things in the James Bond film universe. And that's another thing that we'll touch upon, hopefully, if we have time later today. So, but in any event, that is my type of say, opening salvo, my opening when it comes to this work, Casino Royale. I've seen this film a number of times since I was a kid. When I was a kid, I saw it and I was like, what's going on? Who are these people? What, huh? And so it just grew from there, and it just grew and grew and grew and grew and grew. And so I think it it remains it remains so much fun. And I look at it like that. It's just another opportunity to have fun, and you have great score, great music. One of the I think one of the great uses of fish in an aquarium that I've ever seen in a film, which is the use of the look of love, and Ursula Andress or Vesper Lind and Evelyn Tremble, and the whole thing with the right. I can't do it. Well, I wish I had some toy fish, but here, I'll use this handkerchief, which is a fish. So this is a kind of fish in the background, and imagine bubbles. So, it's great. I love it. So cool. So cool. But um, anyway, Yeah, this is a lot of fun, and I will I will sort of approach this discussion in that spirit. But rather than me monopolizing the entire talk, let me now turn to the great live chat. So, anyway, thank you so much for that indulgence, or letting me indulge in that. But now let me go here. Um, let's see. Oh, Cooper Clever 72 says, if this film you were asking about at the box office. So according to reports and according to, say, the documentaries, it's considered a financial success. And so, um, yeah. So and you say also the music is pretty good though. Yes, yes, the music is one of the strengths. Oh, it's a great score. Yeah. Burt Bacharach. Excuse me. CBC Legend is here. Hello. Um, AVG film. This James Bond is a nerd. It's wonderful. Oh, there is this type of almost recluse element as well that's added in when we first see the David Niven James Bond. He talks about my namesake and what he's doing, and so I think that's right. And then he's talking about how he likes to right play the piano and his estate. And the estate suddenly explodes as the bomb explodes, which is very much like it reminds me a lot of a certain type of similar explosion that happens in another James Bond film, which is called Skyfall. Boom and boom. But here I would say I don't know which explosion is bigger, Skyfall's explosion or Casino Royale 67's explosion at the start. I would actually dare to say that maybe it's this film's explosion. It's huge. It's boom suddenly, and then the hair and stuff. But anyway, yeah. Cooper Glover says, as I recall, I found this film basically dull. Yeah. Hannock says not only David Niven is Jimmy Bond, but several as well. Yes, there are several other people who have the name or moniker James Bond. Um, yes, Damn Fool says Feldman was wise to mount a spoof when his serious plans fell through. Yes, yes, there were ideas or hopes by him, and also I think Peter Sellers also had a certain hope or wish to want to make it a serious approach. I understand. He used the template of his success, but What's New Pussycat? He has a template of success of What's New Pussycat, but his inexperience and wild ideas started the ball rolling. Yes, and I love the in joke of What's New Pussycat with the hole in the street there. I thought that was great. And then um, yes, talking about the number of directors. Cyrus's Coen Brothers films have two directors. Yes, um, it's a really, it's a really, uh, yeah. This I understand also is a type of this adds to the type of circus carnival aspect to it in terms of the way in which the production as all under the 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 producer Charles Feldman, and what his I guess approach was, or I think I understand his approach was in terms of essentially getting all these as many directors as he could to make all this stuff at pretty much at the same time, while also dealing with a lot of this kind of tension, as it were, and just it becomes this whole thing. I don't know, like it's you watch the behind the scenes documentaries, and those are so fascinating. Those are just as entertaining as the film itself, I would say. But it's great, and then of course, yes, the how to connect it together. And so you have right, Val Guest and others. So, and I agree. And Dan Fools, yes, yes, Val Guest, yes, key person, yes, yes, and so kind of funny and charming when you see him on that behind the scenes or the making of documentary. Excuse me. Um, James Pond, No Time to Care. Hello, it's nice to see you. Um, Yes, as I wrote her, yes, to continue, if it was a quote unquote normal production, I think this would have been a terribly boring and forgettable film. That's an interesting thing, yes. And Damn Fool continues. It would have been an anthology film. Yes, yes, I agree. I used the word omnibus earlier, but anthology, yes, exactly, exactly. But Feldman thought it would save time and money to have multiple directors at once. Yes, yes, this was not a good idea. Yes, yes. Yes, and there's nothing wrong with the main plot thread. It's quite good for a spoof film. Actually, I agree with that. I think the plot itself is really quite good. I like the whole thing about Bond needing to come back, and he needs to get everyone from all the Secret Service points from, I don't know, around the globe, Soviet Union, France, United States, United Kingdom. We get to, and then we get a little bit of M's backstory, kind of, but it's of course under the guise of, or it's all involved with Smersh and Mimi and stuff. And then I like that, and I like the return of James Bond to Secret Service life, except this time he is in the M position, and he sees the new Miss Moneypenny, who is Miss Moneypenny's daughter, who then took the vows, I think, and then Barbara Boucher, of course. And then the whole thing about how the James Bond, who is in essence the new M, like what would it be? Would he be B? I don't know. But in any event, the James Bond is essentially the new M. In this manner speaking, he has to have people, or he has to recruit new agents, because all the agents are being assassinated or kidnapped on the field for some strange unknown reason. We understand later it's probably has to do with Smersh. And then that leads to Le Chiffre, that plot, Mata Bond, that plot, Vesperlind, and how that's related to the Le Chiffre Evelyn Tremble plot, how she needs to recruit Evelyn Tremble, etc. There's Coop or Bond, and then there's uh, and then there's the whole climax at Casino Royale, and then there's the whole twist in terms of Dr. Noah, Jimmy Bond, and the relationship with James Bond, and there's this kind of almost plot filled with a lot of gravitas in a lot of ways, in terms of, and also not just that familial relationship between Jimmy Bond and James Bond, of course, but there's a relationship between James Bond and Mata Bond. And we understand too that Mata Hari was, we think, the love of James Bond's life, perhaps. At least that's what M and company say early in the film. And so this means that, yes, Mata Bond is James Bond's daughter. And so we have this another familial relationship key. And that leads to their meeting, and they have this very interesting relationship. Which is very cordial, very friendly, and in fact, she says at the end too, after her haircut, she says, this is she's had so much fun, right? So, uh, and so this is so in many ways this has the makings of a type of a very gravitas laden film, with a lot of family ties, family connections, almost like Shakespeare in a manner of speaking. So but we have seen too in many a film from Bond, or not many, maybe a few, this type of close relationship, and the betrayal, and the years of frustration and anger that have been seething, only to then find focus in terms of a revenge plot. Because this is also, in a sense, a kind of revenge plot film of Dr. Noah against James Bond. And so that the plot is actually quite intriguing, I would say. And then trying to go to different parts of the world and trying to infiltrate certain places in order to figure out what's going on. So you get these subplots and subplots, etc. And you meet all these really odd and eccentric characters. I mentioned one of the two Ronnies as well. So this so the plot, I think, is quite good. It's I would say too that it's as much as there is a lot to say about the haphazard, hodgepodge, almost jigsaw piece like way in which this whole thing is put together, and it's described as perhaps sometimes as a type of mess. But actually, I would slightly push back on that, because it is, I would say, quite easy to follow in terms of a train of plot thread or plot line. There's a lot going on, that's for sure, but there's still, in terms of a plot, arguably speaking, or one way of looking at it is kind of an interesting plot thread to follow. And so Um, in that way, yes, I agree. I agree. Was it Damnful? Yes, and it does capture at the time, right? It was in terms of a feature film embodiment of the film until we had the Daniel Craig film. This was, the only way you could see this particular in feature film format anyway. This particular story of Casino Royale, and it is a very important story in terms of the history and context of James Bond, the character, the literary character, who then becomes of course the film character. So okay, so let's see. Let's see. Oh, Atulia is here. Hello. James Bond, the amusement park of noir films. That's an interesting way of putting it. Very interesting. Timothy says sounds like a Get Smart. Oh, Get Smart. Yes, yes, Get Smart. Um, Damful says, I think what kills the experience for most people is the sluggish pace of the Scotland Ireland sequence. Yes, once you get past that, the pace, it is early in the film too. So, um, and so that then you can kind of maybe skip over it, I suppose. And you know, maybe this film is kind of what is it? What are those books like? Like William Burroughs book, you can like open up to any page and basically start reading from there. So maybe I've never done this done I've never done that with Casino Royale, but I should maybe try that next time. Just watch from a random place and then see where that takes me. um, so yes, yes, and I would say too that it leads me to think you have so many directors in the film, not just behind the camera as I say, but in the film. So Woody Allen, Orson Welles, um, uh, uh, John Huston, excuse me. So John Huston, Orson Welles, Woody Allen, etc. So it leads me to think, what film directors or could I imagine that could play great James Bond villains in future James Bond films? Could you imagine, like, which directors would you like to see? Film directors would you like to see play film villains, James Bond villains? I've been thinking. I mean, I've been watching a lot of films, for instance, by David Cronenberg, and we know David Cronenberg is also an actor as well as a director. I mean, he's appeared in, I think he's appeared what in Star Trek, and also he's appeared in Jason X, and he's also appeared in Nightbreed. So and others, Clive Barker. And so you know that he could play a good villain. I think. Oh, Mr. Bond, I'd very much like you to sit down and listen to my plot to take over the world, and I think that would be a really good opportunity for me to tell you what my plot is, or something like that. That would be cool. David Cronenberg in a James Bond film as the villain. Wow, wow. Could you imagine that if it was a James Bond film starring, say, Timothy Dalton, and Timothy Dalton versus David Cronenberg? Wow, wow. Oh, Mr. Bond. Oh, stuff it, David Cronenberg. Get on with it, or something like that. Oh, that would be so cool. Or what other directors would be great James Bond villains? I don't know. If you have any ideas, please let me know in the the live chat. That would be cool. But let's see. Um, and let's see here. Yes, sorry, to go back. Mike Eli says this film really should have been included in the James Bond box set that was released a few years ago. I'm sure it was a rights issue, but disappointing nonetheless. Damn Fool says, yes, there is an internal. I'm talking about the plot. Yes, there's an internal logic that was really hammered together by Val Guest. Yes, the problem is that they couldn't fix or fully cover up the massive holes caused by sellers. Yes, walking off the set or fired. I guess, yeah, walking off first and then fired, I think, right? And then so that was the, yeah. So what to do with with the whole thing with the Lotus 3 and then suddenly being captured, and then what? How do we get? How do we handle the end of the character of Evelyn Tremble when we've got what do we have? Well, we have him standing. We have him standing in the middle of a cloudy room with all these people falling around him dead, and Vesperlin with the machine gun uh, bagpipes on the other side. How do we do this? Oh, okay, maybe what we can do clever cropping. Okay, and now he's dead. That's it. Boom. That's great, great. Talk about, making a film in the editing room. Fantastic, fantastic. Um, yes. Oh, great stuff. Great stuff. And then that's it. That's it. And then you go, just what do we do? Okay, yeah, all right, show's over. Let's go to the next scene. Great. Let's see. Uh, let's see. I'm sorry, I just lost my place in the. I think. Oh, just lost my place in the chat here. Give me 1 second. Gray says Pauline Kael. Wow, Pauline Kael would make a great Bond villain. I never thought. That's really interesting. What would you say? What was this? It's. Uh, Oh, the score. Yes, Damful mentions the score. So, the score too of this film Casino Royale. It has, again, if one looks at this in terms of a film with faults, and as I said earlier, that's, I think, a very fair impression to have, if indeed you have it. There is still, I think, something that perhaps one can also recognize, which is that the score is is brilliant. It is so memorable and so unique. From the opening tune, it's a very famous opening tune, and then you have that instrumental version, and you have the lyrics added on at the end for the closing version. Oh, James Bond! Oh, it's fantastic. Um, but anyway, it's that is very famous, and then the music, the music sort of interludes or the accompaniments or embellishments that we see throughout, I think, really help in terms of the mood, which is ebullient. It's very bubbly. It's lively. It feels almost spontaneous, and it feels very much like a complex web. What's interesting about that theme is it feels the feel. I don't. I'm not a musician, but when I listen to it, it's like the bars. You don't have these typical bars. It goes, so it kind of leads one on this type of circular course, as it were, which I really enjoy and appreciate. It's not a straight course, but it's very circular in its path, and it's, as I say, very charming and very warm and very, very clever as well. So I do enjoy that. And the what I think is brilliant too is that it does something, um, which is, and I mean, it gives. Well, let me take a step back. The James Bond films, which are so famous for a number of reasons, they are famous, I think, in large part because of the music. And there's a lot of musicians involved in terms of those James Bond films, but perhaps especially in the core period, the early classic period, we have the work of John Barry. And so his work, and using the various themes that were available to him, Monty Norman, of course, and others, but in his work, which developed from there, developed in its own trajectory, its own course, became so iconic and so much part of the fabric, such that James Bond and that John Barry feel become one and the same. And so when you're talking about James Bond outside of the Eon context, that's one of the pitfalls. That's one of the difficulties. That's one of the great challenges the of how to deal with James Bond without that now iconic music score stuff. And so what do you do? Do you try to emulate it? Do you try to copy it? What do you do? And so sometimes you get these very interesting results. For instance, remember Never Say Never Again. Never Say Never Again has a very interesting musical landscape. Michel Legrand, as we know. Some people like it, some people don't, but it is very interesting. I would say, too, that Casino Royale's 67's musical landscape is very memorable and very much, it kind of goes in the opposite direction from what one might expect. It goes in that direction, of course, in terms of the light-hearted, almost campy feel, which perhaps is very much consistent with the spoof nature of the film. That's for sure. I get that. But what my point here is that it is also, this film is also in many respects a spy film. And so when you have a spy film, you expect that type of spy film-ish, John Barry type of stuff, but it goes the opposite direction. And in that way, I think it's a really bold choice, a really, really bold choice. But then it turns back. It gives us a song, which is The Look of Love, which could be, it that could have been used in an Eon Bond film in terms of its pace, in terms of its mood and atmosphere and setting, but it was used here to great effect. So that's another way in which I think the score and the music is so brilliant. It's circular. It's not just circular in the theme, but it's circular in how it just takes you. It goes in one direction that we understand. Oh, it is completely different from what I'm expecting, and it comes back, and then it goes back again, and then that's it. And then he gives us, oh, James Bond. It's great. Yeah. So, yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. So, it's, yeah, this is one of the greats. Um, and oh, Seth Walsh is here. Seth Walsh, I know that you have to step out because of work that you mentioned in your comment. So, but I'll see you next weekend. Yes, the For Your Eyes Only discussion. As I also remember you talking about that in the comments on the earlier video. So Seth, uh, take care, my friend, and talk to you very soon. Um, yes, yes. Yeah, I don't have. Yeah, I don't have the soundtrack, fortunately. So, and yes, Damn Fool continues. Yes, The Look of Love is one of the best songs ever written. Yes, yes, the music is one of the things no one can criticize in regards to the film. Yes, I agree. Henok says Jean-Paul Belmondo. Yes, Jean-Paul Belmondo. Uh, and he can be viewed as one of the gendarmes. Yes, at the climax. Oh my goodness. Yes. Um, and oh my goodness. Um, what a great thing! And he's featured in the opening credits too. And he just appears just like this one moment, and great. Um, fantastic. I love that choice. It's and George Raft as well. The whole thing with the it's great. And the gun that shoots backwards or shoots in reverse. It's fantastic. And so just it's just these random bits that just come out of nowhere, and then they just they appear and then they disappear. And you never see them again because it doesn't matter because the film is already busy going on to the next 10 things. So, wonderful stuff. Um, also wanted to say too that again, a lot has been said about how this is very much a maybe a different one-off in terms of the spoof nature and that sort of thing. But I must say too that I really love the performances. I really love the performances, and I must say, I think for me, um, uh, my favorite performances here are perhaps David Niven and Ursula Andress. I really love the Vesper Lynn character as it's portrayed by Ursula Andress. This obviously there's this idea about her obsession or her character's obsession with money. There's this way that we suddenly see her dealing with a corpse. We understand. I think it's meant to be another double O agent, but and so that leads to something sinister. But then she's also very seductive, and she's very welcoming, especially when she's trying to recruit Evelyn Tremble, and that type of relationship dynamic, only to be turned in this weird way at the end. You're not quite sure what's going on, much like that whole scene in Casino Royale, and the capturing or kidnapping. Or was she really in on it from the very start? Not quite sure, at least from the dynamics of the film as we see. But it doesn't matter. We understand that James Bond, David Niven's James Bond, knows kind of, or he knows more than he lets on, and that's for sure with other characters in the film. And that's definitely for sure, I would say, at the end when he's able to confront Vesper Lynn in that way. So, but I think her character and how it's portrayed is really, really wonderful. And it's another twist, right? It's another difference, but it's also the same. There's a difference in terms of Ursula Andress' performance that we perhaps know in terms of Dr. No and the iconic performance and the iconic character of Honey Rider in that respect. And now we have a different take, the same actor, but different take, or different approach as a type of somewhat nuanced or maybe even villainous role. So that is that's one of my favorite characters, in fact, in this film. And the other is David Niven's James Bond, or Sir James Bond. I think his performance is fantastic, absolutely fantastic. There's a sense of the wittiness. Um, what is it? What's the word? What's the phrase? Please correct me if I'm wrong. When he's talking at the very beginning, he um, um, oh, I forgot. I'm sorry. My mind is not working as well as it should be today, so I apologize. But David Niven's performance is, I think, so splendid and so I like how he is able to almost make fun of himself while at the same time showing that he is in control. He is utterly in control. And I love that. And I love how he is. And I love the whole, right? And also his physicality is great. There's a bit at the end where he confronts his double. James Bond confronts his double that was created by Dr. Noah. And he's got and he's able to sort of up the day with the machine gun. He's got the machine gun thing like this. That's such a cool pose, and the way that he's able to deliver lines and again be so cool and composed even under pressure and the like. And so I really enjoy that very much. And he doesn't go over the top with it. He is very much part of the proceedings. He's not looking down on anything. He's very much with it. So there's an earnestness as well as a like a wink of the eye to the camera type of approach, as well as being, I think, very much cool under pressure. So I enjoy that immensely. I think it's a great performance, and again, it's also one where he does look somewhat ludicrous at times, but he's not afraid to do that. So I enjoy that very much. You know, from the very start, we see him like like this. Like, could you imagine? Could you imagine someone like, oh, wouldn't it be great? Like that's another thing too, which is a what if? What if, say, Timothy Dalton? I go back to Timothy Dalton. Could you imagine Timothy Dalton with that hat, and then going like this at the beginning? Who is that? Is that McTarry again? Ah, oh, why didn't the lions get him? Ah, oh, I don't want to talk to him. I want to play my Debussy, or something like that, or maybe if it was Daniel Craig, he would have been like just like so his muscles would have been just so overwhelming the chair that it would just broken the chair or something like that, or maybe Roger Moore like oh oh the oh I have to go to McTarry's house. Oh I can't even imagine what Roger Moore's Bond would have been in that Scotland sequence. But in any event, that would have been very interesting indeed. That Scotland sequence, that whole house, the McTarry house, reminds me of Zoran's house or Zoran's estate in A View to a Kill. And so when they're going around the halls and he's going into Mayday's room, for instance, that reminds me, or Casino Royale, that reminds me a lot of the Casino Royale interiors. So maybe Mimi is very much like Mayday. And in fact, there is a bit of a turn, right? There's a turn at the end, turn of allegiances, switching sides. So Mimi kind of does a similar thing. So Mimi and Mayday, I think, would be, wow, that's interesting. Mimi versus Mayday, who would win in a battle between the two? Maybe they'd be fighting, and then they suddenly say, "Hey, why are we fighting? We should be like working together." And they'd switch sides in the middle of the fight, and they go off and they get into adventures or something. It'd be really cool. And they'd see all these stone boulders, and then maybe it would be like, look at that stone! Look at that stone ball! Look at that huge, heavy stone rock! And then maybe that's okay, Mimi. Let me take care of it. And then Mayday would like take the rock and like and then throw it, and then Mimi, oh my goodness, Mayday! Wow, wow! And that would just lead off into more adventures. So, but in any event, um, yeah. Let's see. Um, Or could you imagine, um, oh gosh, 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 who else? Oh, maybe we should mention, he hasn't been mentioned yet, Pierce Brosnan. I think Pierce Brosnan would make an excellent Casino Royale 67 Bond. Would he be good Sir James Bond? I'm not sure. Maybe he could be Evelyn Tremble, maybe? My goodness, could you imagine a 67 Casino Royale with all the Bonds, with all the other Bonds? So let's put, who should we have as the David Niven Bond? Should we have, let's make it fun. Should we have Timothy Dalton in that one? Okay. And then we have Coop. We can have um, maybe we can have a Daniel Craig in that one. Doing the judo practice, Dahlia Lavi, etc. And then maybe who would be Evelyn Tremble? Maybe it would be Pierce Brosnan. Oh, you know, the all the thing. Oh, it's Peter O'Toole. Oh, Peter O'Toole. Maybe something like that. And then who would be Jimmy Bond? Who would be maybe Jimmy Bond would be played by George Lazenby. That would be so cool. George Lazenby as Dr. Noah Jimmy Bond. That would be cool. And then but you know what? Maybe we should change it. Maybe Timothy Dalton shouldn't be the Sir James Bond David. That should be Roger Moore, because that would allow Roger Moore's James Bond to go to the McTarry estate in the Scotland sequence and try to handle all those women. It's like Octopussy's palace, and so yeah, that would be very interesting indeed. But anyway, Hanno Charm is here. Hello, and you say Brosnan would be fantastic in a Bond spoof. Just look at the effort he puts into his role in Mars Attacks. I love Mars Attacks. I absolutely love Mars Attacks. And there's at least one other Bond connection with Mars Attacks as well, in that Tom Jones appears, right? So you have, and you know that from the trailer. Um, and so Tom Jones, of course, is the singer of the song Thunderball. Oh, wouldn't it be cool if Tom Jones was able to sing Thunderball in Mars Attacks and Pierce Brosnan was in the room? Wow, minds exploding everywhere on the James Bond internet. But anyway, yes. Oh, Erwin says, for me, the highlight of this film is Barbara Boucher. Yes, yes, very memorable. She's very memorable in this film, and her way of testing out the agents, I thought, was very interesting, quite memorable indeed. Yes, um, and so okay. Oh, hold on, just my chat is not doing so well today. It's slowing up, so unfortunately, sorry about this. Give me 1 second to regroup, and I will be on. Okay, so let's see. Where was I? Um, the vinyl resting place says Woody Allen. Yes, Dr. Noah, and the whole getup with the costume there. And he reminds me a lot. I don't know, like there's the film Quantum of Solace, and Quantum of Solace has this character named Green. I always thought that Dr. Noah in this film, or Green in Quantum of Solace, reminds me a lot of the posture and the physicality of Dr. Noah here. So it would be great if you had that final battle between David Niven, Sir James Bond here, and Dr. No, and they're swinging an axe. Oh wow, would that have been interesting? But anyway, and the fireball and the everything's burning, and maybe Dr. No, every time he swings that, he was like or something like. I can't do a good Green impression. I'm so sorry, but let's see. Where was I? The vinyl resting place. So again, talking about Mars Attacks. How many realize that an actress that's in Mars Attacks was also the star of a Hitchcock? Oh, so this is, you're talking about in Mars Attacks. There's Sylvia Sidney, right? And the Hitchcock film, what was it? Would have been Sabotage, right? So that's what you're referring to, right? So yes, yes. She's also in. If, in case anyone's interested, she has a very brief but I think very memorable presence in the film Damien Omen 2, which is a sequel to The Omen, right? Which is Damien Omen 2 is also stars William Holden, who is in Casino Royale 67. So everything is full circle here. That's great. So anyway, um, yes, yes. So anyway, so it's all for fun. I think it's all for fun. Very good stuff. I'm just let me go back here and says. Um, Oh, interesting. Zyrothra says Craig would be excellent at training for AFSD. Um, and Daniel Craig, Daniel Craig in Casino Royale. I mean, of course, he has his own Casino Royale, of course, who we're saying, but my goodness. Daniel Craig. Oh, I'm sorry. Going back to Pierce Brosnan. If Pierce Brosnan is going to be Evelyn Tremble, then who's going to play Le Chiffre? That's the thing. So if we have Pierce Brosnan, we need to have maybe a film director to play Le Chiffre. So what is it going to be? Gosh, who should we have as his adversary on the baccarat table? I don't know. Um, maybe Quentin Tarantino. Maybe I don't know, or maybe Martin Scorsese. I don't know, or um, I don't know, maybe Ridley Scott. Could you imagine Ridley Scott as Le Chiffre versus Pierce Brosnan's Evelyn Tremble at the baccarat table? It's like, oh, it's your move, Le Chiffre. And then Ridley Scott's there with his cigars, like, oh, this reminds me of the time I was shooting Alien, and I thought we just need to have Tom Skerritt in these boxes, in these cardboard boxes. That would be great. Oh, that would be so fantastic. Oh, and then I shot Gladiator, something like that. And he's like, oh, this is not about Gladiator. This is about Baccarat or something. But anyway, um, gosh, who would be? Oh, Werner Herzog. Oh, that would be interesting. Yes. Yes, Erwin, that's interesting. Werner Herzog as Le Chiffre versus Pierce Brosnan's Evelyn Tremble. My goodness. Yes. And could you imagine the magic tricks that Werner Herzog would have before Evelyn Tremble appears? Um, Dan Fool's yes, Scott Cigar. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, it's the only thing I can do. I'm sorry. I'm very bad. I've never done a Ridley Scott impersonation before, so I'm so sorry. But yes, yes. Maybe I know you, Dan Fool Idealist. You can do a better Ridley Scott impersonation than I. So maybe have you done one on your channel? If not, David. If I have bags of popcorn, David Lynch. Yes. Um, Oh gosh. Oh, damn fool says, "Watch me eat my shoe." Mr. Bonser referring to Werner Herzog, David Lynch. Yes, maybe. Um, and then like maybe when Evelyn Tremble say, "Oh, your move, Lucifer," and then I can't do a good David Lynch. I'm gonna embarrass myself. And then he says something like, "The corn next to the coffee. Now that is beautiful." And then the room is so silent, and then like Pierce Brosnan's like, something like, I don't know. Yeah, but anyway, but yeah, Peter Lorre. Yes, Peter Lorre played the Schaefer, of course, in the '50s TV version. Yes, um, that would be great. Yes, but anyway, yes, there's so many what if scenarios. But then just going back to this film for 1 second, there was another thing I wanted to say, which is the also another sequence that I think is well, I also enjoy too. I've mentioned the Schiffer sequence. I've mentioned the McCary sequence, and the Mata Bond sequence too. I think that's a really great sequence in terms of the way that the lighting is used. There's the split. There's the whole thing about East versus West, the Berlin Wall. There's a joke about the Berlin Wall. There's Bernard Cribbins in the Foreign Office. There's Vladek Shabal. There's the whole thing about the auction for these rather risque and revealing photographs. And there's the whole thing about the au pair, a nanny, the training place, which is meant to be this Smersh base. I'm not sure exactly. And then Mata Bond, who's also this dancer, but also the daughter of Bond, who's also a type of maybe uh, amateur field agent in a manner of speaking. She goes undercover and tries to solve this mystery, and it's very much like a Hall of Mirrors, Cabinet of Dr. Caligari type of vibe, haunted house look vibe that also has these sinister undertones that are also linked to spies and espionage. So here we have a place where I would say too that you have the whole setup with the Berlin Wall there, and the height. This is in Berlin, right? And you have this. This feels very much like Cold War intrigue stuff. The look and feel of it, anyway. Maybe the actual content is anything but because of the zaniness of it. I get that, but I like that look and I like that sense, and it gives an opportunity for this wildly inventive, almost quite random musical dance number to introduce Mata Bond, and so I like that stuff very much, and that just adds a little bit of air and mystery. And then you have this whole thing about I love the bit where Archibald's just shooting the gun as they're driving off, just shooting the gun, and then you have one of the guards just looking at him, and that's it. And he goes into the booth, calls Lashifra, and Lashifra does something, and boom, it just explodes. It's just amazing. It's an amazingly surreal sequence, and then you have. Um, uh, the oh gosh, and then you have the whole thing with Anna Quayle and the two, one of the two, Ronnie Corbett, and then the whole thing with the mechanism and the heart and everything. And so this is uh, really just, I think, very bizarre, wonderfully bizarre stuff. And as I say, it's a spoof, but there are those feelings and elements in there of the type of spy, espionage, Cold War intrigue. They're embedded. Maybe they're really hidden, quite hidden, in fact, but they're still there. And I think that is even more of a case for the film in terms of how its way of trying to balance all these things all at once. Does it work all the time? Perhaps not for everyone, but it does certainly make an attempt to do so. Let's see. David Calhoun says Bond passing the time watching movies on his Sony smartphone. David Lynch swoops in. Watching a movie on a telephone, get real. Yes, yes. We know how David Lynch feels about watching movies on one's telephone. Yes. Um, Damn fool idealist Chris. It's John Huston. Oh God, I can't do a good John Huston. John Huston, but let's see. I got bored with the opening and went hunting. Now I'm back for the money, Mr. Feldman. I mean, Bond. You've got money. Oh, how much have you got? If you don't have money, what can you give me? What do I want, Mr. Feldman? The future, Mr. Feldman. The future. That's a terrible John Huston. I apologize. Um, let's see. Here we go. The vinyl resting place. So, is the original Casino Royale considered part of the Bond canon? Uh, don't think so. Yes. Um, uh, um, Probably not. But although there are some links, one could say exist. That's for sure. Especially in terms of how Sir James Bond talks about his namesake. There's some interesting bits of dialogue there. So, Mike says, Daisuke, your impressions are absolutely delightful. Oh, thank you for the kind compliment. I'm not so good with them, but thank you. That's very, very kind of you. Thank you. Um, let's see. Cooper Clever says, Daisuke, you should see the fake David Lynch iPhone commercial. Yes. Infra Magin says, future Bond girl Angela Scolar. So, future Bond girl, you're making reference to, of course, on Her Majesty's Secret Service. Yes. Appears in Casino Royale as the last who gets in the bathtub with Niven. Yes. 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 That's right. That's right. Um, um, what's her name in the film? Buttercup. Yes. So, and then she'll appear a few years later, as you refer to as Ruby Bartlett in On Her Majesty's. You're absolutely right. Yes, and there's some similar On Her Majesty stuff going on too, especially in the McTerry sequence when they're having the banquet, and you have the two ladies sitting on either side of Bond, and then you go under the table, and there you see their legs are wrapped around his. It's a little bit of a similar thing that we see in a similar banquet sequence in the film On Her Majesty's Secret Service. There's some, how should I put it? There's some goings on above and below the table. Let me put it that way. So, and there's also this kind of vibe. Well, actually, let me hold off on that. It's not a good comment. Zyroth is, I will stand up to bid and sit down when not bidding. Yes, yes. Are you gonna stand up to bid or sit down a bit? Which is the yes? Great. Uh, Yes. Hano Charm. I like that some real spy movie stuff pops into the movie occasionally. I agree. I absolutely agree. The Mata Berlin sequence is a great example, as is the pills and antidotes in the champagne during the Tremble Bond sequence. So you're referring to the bit in the hotel room between Tremble and Miss Goodthighs, played by Jacqueline Bisset. And you've got the pill that's put in the champagne glass and the antidote pill that's put in the champagne glass immediately after. So the white pill, it's kind of like a white Alka-Seltzer, and then a pink Alka-Seltzer. But if you notice, the pink one bubbles a little bit less than the white one, I think. But it has to do with the color. I'm not sure, but yes, absolutely, absolutely. Those, and then you've got the bit afterwards where Vesperlin wakes him up and puts him in the shower, and she says, "I took care of her." It's a kind of a throwaway line, but it's very sinister actually, and that adds to the sinister nature, the maybe the latent sinister nature, if you will, of the Vesperlin character. Very very interesting indeed. Another great sort of shower sequence, in a manner of speaking, in Casino Royale sequence, much like, for instance, for example, the later film in the shower sequence between Bond and Vesperlin too. I think it's a really poignant romantic moment in that later film. Maybe different, maybe not the same level of romantic vibe, but there's a different vibe that's for sure going on in this shower sequence. Let's see. Erwin says, I have to go, unfortunately. Oh, that's okay, my friend. But lots of fun discussing Casino Royale. And I will see you next week for Your Eyes Only. Yes, next week, same time, same place. The redo. So have a great rest of your day, my dear friend. Thank you so much. Thank you. Into Gray is here. Hello. It's nice to see you. Into Gray, thank you. I just read your comment on one of the Varda videos, so I'll respond shortly. Sorry for my late response. Let's see. Um, Damn Fool says, awesome, we get a Houston impression too. Yeah, it's terrible. I'm so sorry. I can't do it. It would have been better if I had like the toupee and it would have been timed perfectly to whisk off at a certain point. But oh well. Oh well. Let's see. Gray says, I'm still in shock over the Lynch Daisuke just summoned before our eyes. So thank you. I'm shock. Yes, I'm just maybe, yeah, I'm so sorry. Maybe shock and maybe how bad it was. I don't know, but so, but no, thank you very much. Thank you. It's very kind of you. Again, I'm not so good with that sort of stuff, but, um, yeah, one of the things too, also, again, this is totally off topic. I apologize, but, uh, I'm not a good I'm not good when it comes to impersonating, for instance, say Steven Spielberg. But one of the things I always catch, if you catch the Steven Spielberg interviews, documentaries or something, he's giving interviews about, like, I don't know how much he loves Stanley Kubrick films or something, about how how he watches Paths of Glory, and what is it he says? What does he say? He said, I dare you to try to turn off Paths of Glory once it's on. You can't, that kind of thing. He does this. He does this a lot. Like Steven Spielberg, like, when he's thinking, he's like, "Oh, I'd like to," and then he's like, so next time you catch a Steven Spielberg interview, catch how many times he does this when he's thinking. He's like, I don't know. So very interesting. It's one of the things that he does when he's caught in thought, I think. But anyway, thank you very much. Steven Spielberg, that would be an interesting Le Chiffre, perhaps. I'm not sure. Um, or I don't know who would be a good Le Chiffre. Who else would be a good Le Chiffre? My goodness. Um, I mean, I mentioned Martin Scorsese. I mean, he did play Van Gogh, right? So, mm, I don't know. I'm sort of at a loss here. Not sure. Maybe Francis Ford Coppola. I'm not sure. Maybe. I'm not sure. It might be interesting, but gosh, don't know. Don't know. That's another great what if. But anyway, let me just go back to the chat here. Um, a damn fool. There's so much that was cut from the film or never shot that you could fill one, if not two movies with it. I hope someday to see some of the deleted material. It was mentioned in, I think, I forget where it was. Maybe it was in um, in the commentary track. But right, this would make a great TV series with separate episodes, maybe 5 or 6 episodes, maybe seven, I'm not sure. And each sequence, in a way, given its own episode. I think that would be really great. And that could allow for a lot of further backstory and embellishment if it were successful, maybe a season two. I don't know. If they did a season two of Casino Royale, the TV show, what would that entail? My goodness. My goodness. Oh, maybe James Bond, maybe the new Universal Exports has been established after everyone has died from having been exploded, and then the Universal Exports calls heaven and sends someone to heaven, rather like the way in which people can interact, say in maybe it's like a Powell and Pressburger type of thing, and they go to heaven and they try to recruit Bond from heaven for one last mission, and so they go, and now Bond is back on Earth, and they've got to take care of the details. And there's new Le Chiffres, so instead of all the new Bonds, the James Bond, there are all these new Le Chiffres popping up, and so the Bond who's been resurrected from the dead has to go and recruit all these agents in order to find out who the real Le Chiffre is. And so he's got to, oh, that would be great. And so therefore, the now resurrected David Niven Bond can go and have people um, go out into the field and recruit other agents who could play James Bond. So multiple James Bonds and multiple Le Chiffres. And that's where we can have people like, oh, could you imagine? Could you imagine someone recruiting like oh gosh, going back to Timothy Dalton with his long hair, the long hair Timothy Dalton, and Timothy Dalton's like being recruited by some, let's say, who should it be, maybe it's oh gosh, who should it be? Who should we have? Maybe Carrie Lowell. Maybe Carrie Lowell's back, and she's gonna play a character that then David Niven's Bond will say, "Can you go and find this character who's played by Timothy Dalton, and then go hunt down Le Chiffre, this new Le Chiffre." So then Carrie Lowell teams up with Timothy Dalton once again, right? And then they go and fight, um, and um, why don't, and then they said, oh, why don't you wait till you're asked? And then Timothy's like, well, then why don't you ask me or something? And then they go off, and there's winking statues and all that, right? So my goodness, speaking of winking statues and zaniness, right? Perhaps the stuff that we see in License to Kill is maybe even closer to Casino Royale than one might have initially thought. But in any event, yeah, so that would be great. And they go off to some corner of the world, maybe, and then they find one of the Le Chiffres. And the Le Chiffre here, who should we have the Le Chiffre being played by? Maybe the Le Chiffre here could be played by, oh gosh, who knows? Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. Who should we have? Who should we have? Um, something off the wall. Something, oh gosh, I'm at a loss here. Who should we have playing? Maybe John Waters. Okay, let's have John Waters as Le Chiffre here and be like, this wonderful romp. Oh my goodness, could you imagine Timothy Dalton versus John Waters in a season two of the TV series Casino Royale? My goodness, the ratings would just be through the roof. Wow. Anyone who's a TV producer out there, if you're ever so keen on such a project, please make a pitch in whatever pitch meetings that you attend. Uh, I think we would all be so grateful. Let's see. Okay. All right. So go back here. Oh, Bry Guy 5622 is here. Hello, it's nice to see you. Thank you so much. Intergray says, I love that Casino Royale cover. So this cover, yes, yes. Um, it's kind of the kind of famous cover, I think, for this film. And rather like the collage effect of the opening title sequence, I think. Let's see. Kubrick Lever Knight says, I dare you. Yes, yes. Damnful, yes, the hands thing, yes. Yes, to Kubrick Lever, yes. I think he goes, I dare you to turn off Paths of Glory. I dare you. Yes, yes. Damnful says, Spielberg is an ultra Bond nerd. Yes, I wish he would talk about it in a detail. So, oh my goodness, could you imagine a Steven Spielberg interview on James Bond? He'd be like, oh, I remember the first time I saw On Her Majesty's Secret Service that one day, and I was on the lot. I remember I was on the lot in Universal, and I was thinking, how do I get the shark going? How do I get the shark going? Because Bruce, it wasn't working. We were trying to get the mechanics working. It just wasn't working. I was thinking to myself, I was in my trailer and I was thinking, oh, how would they have done it in On Her Majesty's Secret Service? And I thought, yes, that would be great. We don't need to see it. We can get hints of it. We can get glimpses of it, much like Blofeld, right? Because if you know Blofeld, he's in the shadows. We don't see him. We see the back, we see impressions, but we don't see him. Much like the shark in Jaws, we don't see it until later. When we see the reveal, it's much like the reveal after many films later, just like You Only Live Twice. Yes, and that's what I thought when I was thinking about how do we handle this problem with the shark on Jaws, or something like that. I don't know. That would be so great. Um, yeah, yeah. Cooper Glover says Martin Scorsese tends to laugh a lot when he's interviewed. Um, yes. Oh gosh. Yeah, Hano Charm says, I like that Ursula Andress got to play a far less innocent Bond girl in the movie. Yes, I agree here too. In Doctor No, she's quite reliant on Bond, but here she's the one teaching Tremble, and then there's the twist. Yes, and then there's a twist upon the twist, which is, I think, I agree. I agree so much. I find that her performance here is it's so great. And this is one of the key connects between this film and the other Bond films. It's connecting on it. It relies on the other Bond films at the same time. It turns the stuff on its head. And I don't think the film gets enough credit for that. It really does turn a lot of things on its head in a very surprising and sometimes shocking way. So, and I think the Vesper Lynd character is one of the indications of that. That's for sure. Yes, agreed. 100% agreed. Um, let's see. Ace Video Store, was Orson Welles in this movie? Yes, yes, he was in a very, very memorable role. Um, Damfool says Casino Royale 67 show would be great. It could be very witty and circular, like Batman 66. Yes, interesting, very interesting. Oh gosh, that's interesting. Um, oh, yes, mentioned here Lorenzo Semple Jr.'s writing. Yes, yes, yes. The Never Say Never Again. Yes, yes, damn fool. Agree. um, Damn fool says, if No Time to Die has the story device of the agent coming to induce Bond to come out of retirement, they will be hilariously borrowing from Casino Royale 67. Oh, that's interesting. Yes. Um, you know, oh yeah, yeah. Because I heard that as well. I've read the synopses about the new film No Time to Die. Incidentally, if all goes according to schedule, that film will be opening in theaters here in Tokyo on October 1st. So again, if there's no change in schedule, that will occur a few weeks from now, a couple weeks from now. Wow. Wow. We should definitely do a live stream discussion of No Time to Die next month or maybe beyond. Yes. Yes. Oh my word. Dalton and John Waters on screen at the same time. What madness is this? That would be so phenomenal. That would be so phenomenal. And how would, oh gosh. And there has to be, what was that one? There has to be some kind of maybe there's a Lego play set or something that they're fighting, and then there's like a tower, something like that. Oh, this really hurts. It's something like that. uh, yeah, it's great. Yeah, what a great, yeah, Timothy Dalton. Oh, Timothy, what a great, yes. Uh, oh, Divine. Oh, gosh. Yeah, I'm one of these days I would love to talk about John Waters films. Uh, Divine in yeah, don't get me started on Divine. Well, let me just say, let me just say, just wow, one of the great performers. Like, like wow, just wow, just the well, anyway, one day, uh, and there's a oh gosh, and just like I know it's sort of the last sort of cinema legacy in terms, but there's a bit I just I'm just there's a bit where it always gets to me, whereas there's a sequence in a John Waters film called Hairspray where you see some characters dancing, and I love it's sort of they do like dance off at the end, and you have the divine bit when he like ah always gets me. It's just it's my goodness, yeah. And anyway, yeah, yeah. Let's see. Um, sorry, I'm just scrolling down here just a little bit. Oh gosh, my chat box is acting up more than usual today. I apologize. I really apologize. It's just skipping out on me here, but now I'm trying to find my spot again. Damnful idealistic. Sorry, I'm just skipping around here. Damnful idealistic crusader says, Don Black said he met Spielberg at a party once, and Spielberg freaked out, saying, "Diamonds Are Forever" was his favorite Bond song, and then described the title sequence shot for shot by memory. Really? I'd never heard that. Really? That's really cool. That is really cool. Wow. Yeah. Wow, that is really cool. I'm sorry. Before I forget, we'll go back to Casino Royale, but maybe this is maybe my approach to this live stream day is pretty much like the approach to Casino Royale. It's kind of all over the place. I apologize, but another one of my favorite Steven Spielberg moments is, do you know the film Star Wars Episode One: The Phantom Menace? One of the great things about that film is the documentary, the making of that film, the documentary, which is on, it's on every, it's been there since I think the DVD, but that's the making of the behind the scenes of the making of the film Star Wars Episode One: The Phantom Menace. And there's a scene, or there's a shot, not a shot. There's a moment where you have Steven Spielberg uh, um, visiting George Lucas out there, and George Lucas is showing off, basically showing off his new toys, which is great. It's really wonderful because they're old friends, they're really close friends, right? And so that you have the the droid robots, uh, kind of a prop there, the droid robot, and and Steven Spielberg is like playing with one of these oversized droid robots, and then suddenly he's fiddling around, and suddenly he breaks the arm off of the robot thing. He's trying to put it back, and then it's like all like, oh, this here, and then George goes, no, that's not how you do it. He takes it out, he tries to put the thing back. There's almost like, so there's a little bit of a kind of a slight frustration that one might feel, boys playing with toys, that sort of thing, to borrow a line from Goldeneye. And then the George Lucas goes on to explain what's going to happen in terms of a scene. The Gungans, or as he says, the Gungans, and the on one side and the droids on the other, they fight, and they have this they had this what does he say? They had this war and peace battle, literally war and peace. And they go back and forth, and then they say it's going to be great. And then after George Lucas says it's going to be great, then Steven Spielberg says it's going to be great, and then George Lucas says it's going to be great, and then so they say it's going to be great, it's going to be great, it's going to be great, it's going to be what a great moment, great, another great Steven Spielberg moment. Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry, George Lucas. There is a great Le Chiffre. Gosh, why didn't I think about that before? George Lucas as Le Chiffre? Oh my goodness, you know. And right, because David Prowse was there at Frankenstein's monster. Wow, well, perfect, perfect. Right. So George Lucas as Le Chiffre battling one of the Bonds in season 2 of Casino Royale, the TV series. Someone, if anyone's a TV producer, please, please try to make it happen. That would be so wonderful. All right. Let's see. All right. Jeremy Fritz is here. Hello. Um, if anyone is not already familiar with Shirley Bassey's the remix album Diamonds Are Forever from 2000, it's pretty amazing and definitely worth checking out. Thank you very much, Jeremy. Thank you so much. Just scrolling down here. Nosferatu is here. Hello. Hello. Oh, you're very kind. Yes, hello. I'm new to your channel. I effing love it. Thank you. Do you have any tips for collecting Criterion outside of the US? I have some videos maybe elsewhere on the channel in case you're interested. But I do know the situation. I do know the certain issues regarding that. So, but welcome. Thank you so much, Nosferatu. I hope you're well. Thank you. Thank you. Um, Yes, Hano Charm continues. From what you said about how it turns the Bond conventions upside down, 60s Eon audiences must have been alarmed by the character assassination of Bond that happens in the first 10 minutes of this one. So, um, yes, so I think, right, there is a, but also that's a type of convention. I think what you're referring to in terms of the, the beginning 10 minutes is what happens to M. And so, because Bond, they try to kill him actually, but he's still alive, I think, right, if I remember correctly. But then at the same time, too, there is this interesting way in which, in particular, Harry Saltzman at Eon at the time, anyway, was handling the character of Bond and trying to confuse audiences by trying to see situations or scenarios where maybe it could be set up that Bond is going to die in a particular way or particular fashion. Note the opening of or the pre-titles of "You Only Live Twice" or the pre-title sequence of "From Russia with Love" as an example. You have Bond dying or being killed on screen. It's not, we figure out what it actually is, but that gives us a sudden jolt or sudden shock. I would say shock, or I would imagine it would be a shock. And so in that way, maybe the handling of the M character might be said again to be in a similar vein. Of course, the twist is, or there are a number of twists. First being, it's not the Bond character, it's the M character, and also it's a kind of you don't necessarily expect that necessarily. And also, too, it's not like like in those other examples that I cited, Bond dies, but he's actually either alive or it's not really him or something. No, here we have M actually dying. I think, unless he came back and he's in the end sequence. I don't catch him. I don't know, but what's surviving of his remains? His hairpiece, I think, but and there's this whole thing about, is the hairpiece part of him or is it? Wow, I never really thought about that before. But in any event, I think that's another interesting way where you have a link, but then maybe the links are turned on their head, or maybe it goes in a completely bold direction. So in actual fact, there's a lot to be said about how the James Bond Eon films are very serious and dark, and the spoof is lighthearted and comedic, but in actual fact, maybe in many ways, such as this one, the spoof is quite grim and dark as well. It actually it takes that step. It kills off a character. And it does take that extra bold step to elsewhere, where it does kill off, say, one of the main characters in Evelyn Tremble. Evelyn Tremble is perhaps, it could be said that he is perhaps one of, if not the main character. It's either David Niven or Evelyn, or it's Sir James Bond or Evelyn Tremble, David Niven or Peter Sellers. But Peter Sellers, I think, that's really shocking, actually, what happens to him in his character. I know the circumstances, and it's kind of abstract, and I get it, but it's also very shocking. And so it leads to, I think, a lot of discussion about how this film is. Yes, it's a spoof and it's a comedy, but it's also very, very dark, and it takes some pretty almost surprising and twisted and dark turns, such as the killing or the killing off of certain characters. So that balance, I think, is it's it's very, it makes this film, I think, very compelling in a lot of ways, and there's a lot of food for thought. And therefore, the more I think one ponders it, I think, at least the more I think about it, the more I realize that it does have the possibility, anyway, to operate on many different levels, as I like to say. So one of those levels is the spoof spy comedy film, but then the other, as I think Hano Charm, you're pointing out so astutely, and I agree 100%, which is this idea about its links with the Bond films and how it kind of turns them on their heads, maybe in a funny way sometimes, or maybe in a dark way. And in the two examples that we've mentioned here and in the early one of West Berlin, those turns are actually quite dark. Or maybe Vesperlin character was always very complex to begin with, that's for sure. But we were speaking of it in the context of the Ursula Andress connection. So, yeah, well done, Hano Charm. Well done. I love that. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Um, let's see. Damn Fool. To show how nuts the film could be, the original role Dave Prowse was supposed to play was a giant Winnie the Pooh. Yes. Um, but his appearance here is amazing. It is amazing. Yes. Um, let's see. Oh, 5 bags of popcorn. George Lucas walking into a building behind some random guy vlogging is the funniest thing ever. Yes, I saw that video, or I saw it. No, actually, I saw it. I think I didn't see the video itself. I saw it as it was used, I think, by Red Letter Media. So yeah. Um, Damn Fool says Val Guest was considered for the official films and couldn't do Doctor No. He would have been an amazing Bond director and made many outstanding classics with several feeling Bondian. Um, Nosferatu says, "Do you have a schedule for your live streams?" Not anything set, although the next live stream will be scheduled for the same time next week. So, in case you're interested, thank you so much. Um, 5 bags, as we all know, he's really Rich Evans. Yeah, his that George Lucas cosplay was amazing. Um, let's see. Yeah, Zyrother, thank you very much. And the next one is in 7 days. It's a redo of For Your Eyes Only and a wrap up, yes. Although I'm thinking we will do another one on No Time to Die. Um, yes, Lucas Damfool says Lucas does have a sense of humor. Wouldn't it be something if he just walked into a half in the bag episode? Yes, yes. Or best of the worst. That'd be great if Lucas was just there randomly talking about some film on best of the worst or something like that. Or what is it? Oh, that would be so great. Um, yes, David Cal. I was just thinking William Shatner on the other hand. Yes, yes. So we all watch Red Letter Media. That's interesting. Yes. Um, you know, part two. Mm, just like a pizza roll. What is it? I can't do a good Mr. Plinkett impersonation. I'm sorry, but was it Star Wars Episode Two? The was it Star Wars Episode Two? Attack of the Clones is the worst thing since my son. something like that. I can't do it. I can't do it. Um, yeah. Oh, damn fool says the toupee joke is brilliantly witty. Yes, it's so random. It suddenly occurs out of nowhere. Yes, I wondered if it was from Billy Wilder who wrote on the film. It feels reminiscent of Norma Desmond's funeral for her pet monkey in Sunset Boulevard. Ooh, interesting. Very interesting. Um, let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I did I get the conversation off on the prequel trilogy direction? I'm so sorry. I didn't mean that. I apologize. But yeah, let's see. That's that's funny. Yeah. I really loved Attack of the Clones, by the way. I know that's probably not a popular opinion, but I loved Attack of the Clones. And in fact, I thought that for me, Attack of the Clones, I like the mystery element to it, and I like how I mean, the mystery element kind of fell apart at the end, kind of, but I did like, I liked that film. I think maybe of the trilogy or the sequel, not the prequel trilogy. I think Attack of the Clones for me was one I really enjoyed the most. Trooper Glover, 1972, Attack of the Clones. Daisuke, Attack of the Clones, meh. Yes, and I would go for Revenge of the Sith, as you say. No problem. No need to say sorry. I completely get it. Let's see. Um, Dan Campbell's yes, Attack of the Clones positivity. It's rare to hear others not grab over. I prefer it to Revenge of the Sith. Oh gosh, I'm turning this into a Star Wars discussion. I apologize because it's David. I guess, but it's relevant because of Dave Prowse as the Frankenstein monster, and so. But well then let's see. Turn it back. Although let me try to make one more. Let's see. Um, I was trying to think of all the Star Wars James Bond connections, and were there any? Are there any other Star Wars connections with Casino Royale? That's what I was trying to go through in my mind at the moment, and I can't think of any. If there are, please let me know. Apart from the David Prowse connection, is there any? I'm not sure. Yeah, I can't think of any. Can't think of any. Um, are there? Is that it? Is that it for the Star Wars Casino Royale connections? I don't know. Maybe there is. Incidentally, could you imagine a Star Wars film with Burt Bacharach film score? That would be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing. But anyway, going back to Casino Royale, and then we'll go for this. Let's see. It's about. We'll go for another. I have one more thing I want to say to wrap up our discussion of Casino Royale, and then we'll just we'll what's the phrase? We'll shoot the breeze for another 15, 20 minutes after that, and then you can stay and go at your leisure, whatever you want. It's your schedule, of course, but anyway, um, uh, just a few more things. One more main thing I want to say about Casino Royale, and then we'll end the conversation on that, and we'll just end with some more just conversations for another 15, 20 minutes or so. Is that okay? So let's see. So I am, let's see, going back to Casino Royale. So I apologize for the kind of maybe disorganized nature of the conversation that I was trying to have. I didn't have any necessarily a planned out thing. Again, I forgot to say too that my first approach to this film was when I was much younger. And I think I did mention earlier, which is that I first saw it and I was very perplexed by it. I wasn't quite sure what to make of it. It seemed like the odd one right? I was always used to the Sean Connery films, the Roger Moore films. This was the odd one. What's going on here? And so I think it's in that way, it's at a certain position of disadvantage in terms of perception. And those are built in because of just how phenomenally popular the Eon produced James Bond films are. And so there is this huge disadvantage in that way. And so it's okay. But as I was, so in, I'm sorry, so in that vein, perhaps I would always look upon this as I was a kid, as a type of, as a type of, uh, maybe uh, something that was a one-off, or something that was an odd one, or something that was a type of, excuse me here, something that was just maybe not worth it, as it were. And this was my first initial impression, and those impressions were lasting throughout my young my years as a young boy. But then gradually I began to see a lot of joy and a lot of fun and a lot of the charm of the film. And this was probably progressing as I was too progressing and watching other types of films and trying to see the film and beginning to learn a little bit more about the backstory, the background, the behind the scenes stuff. At the time when I first started, I didn't know necessarily all this stuff about Peter Sellers. I didn't appreciate necessarily at the time, say, the stature of someone like Orson Welles in the film community, or the artistic community, etc. And so I wasn't necessarily, or John Huston or something like that. So I wasn't necessarily aware of this, but gradually those pieces of information began to become accumulated, and therefore, oh wow, Orson Welles is in this film. That's really wonderful, and he does a lot of the, there's a bit of this trickery and magic and illusion, this F for fake type of vibe to it, which is really quite wonderful and delightful. And there's a moment where you know, he's almost hypnotizing a member of the audience and hypnotizing us with that powerful magnetic voice. And suddenly, boom, the hand gets through the TV screen, gets shot in the hand, and blah, and everything explodes. Wow, it's amazing, really amazing. But the my point is that the stature of this film in my mind just gradually grew, and so and I so. Uh, it wasn't like a sudden turn of, oh wow, this is real, but it was very gradual. And I wouldn't watch this film a lot, I would say, but I would watch it occasionally. I would watch it occasionally, especially because, as I say, at the time, especially before the release of the Eon produced Casino Royale with Daniel Craig, this was the only feature film version that I was aware of, anyway, not counting any other TV episode versions of this. But this is the feature film version of the story Casino Royale in this form, as wildly ambitious it was in terms of its way in which it was liberally, um, or in an almost free reign type of way, taking many liberties when it came to adapting the actual Ian Fleming story. I understand that, but still, the kernel of the story was still there. And so, in that way, because the Casino Royale story itself is so vital and so important and so fascinating, the Casino Royale story is so fascinating. The idea of a battle, I'm like, how do I put it? All the way up to Bond, in Bond stories and Bond films, it was the idea of the battle between the villain and the hero. If it would be, say, at Blades, or it would be something at, some card game or something on the books, or something like Moonraker with Drax, or maybe in the films or something, with Kamal Khan and this, right, in the casino, etc. The game would always be the metaphor. The game would be the standard, the metaphor of the struggle between the hero and the villain, right? What's so fascinating about Casino Royale is that metaphor, that struggle between the hero and villain, that's the centerpiece of the story. The centerpiece is the metaphor, which I find so fascinating. And thus, because the centerpiece is the metaphor becomes the battle. So it's almost like the metaphor stature disappears, because the battle is, you don't need a game in order to be a metaphor to stand in for the battle, because the actual battle is the game itself. And so, of course, there's other paraphernalia that surrounds that game, It happens afterwards with the torture sequence and the stuff with Vesperl, and I get that, of course, right? But that whole sequence is the stuff of the story. And so, in that way, and many others, it's the first type of James Bond story that we understand in terms of the formation of the Bond character. And so, in that way, that story is so important. And so, I always came back to this film. I think primarily the lure was because it was my only way to get my Casino Royale, uh, uh, urge, right, or to scratch that itch. And so that was my way in. But gradually over time, I realized just how much fun it was, while at the same time realizing all the links to the Bond cinematic legacy past, as well as film legacy and its place in sort of cinema history in terms of who was involved, all these big names, and they're all in one big tent, under the same tent, just doing their own thing. My goodness. And it became this huge, as I say, this circus, this tent circus or carnival like thing. It's a circus, right? Maybe that's a great image too, a circus. It was so chaotic inside that it had to collapse, right, at some point in terms of it under its own artistic weight, much like maybe Jaws flying out of the sky in Moonraker, collapsing into the tent, and everything is collapsing, and then suddenly it's, what is it? This is, I don't know what this is, a little thing. So this is the stand-in for Jaws, right? Da 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 da. Oh, I missed it up. Let's do it again. Da 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 da. Where are you? Right. So maybe that was it. Maybe it was Jaws who destroyed the circus tent that is the production of Casino Royale 67. Who knows? But in any event, that was my evolution on Casino Royale 67. Such as now, I look at it as this wonderful piece of chaotic joy, and there's chaos, but there's also a lot of stuff embedded into it. In terms of what I was trying to mention earlier, in terms of what could be said to be a really, I think, solid through line of a plot that is, I think, quite, and maybe to my great surprise and delight, quite easy to follow. And then also these layers of connections or connectivity with the past Bond films, and it turns them on their heads to make it, I think, a really fun spoof. But also, there's this great interactive relationship between this film and Casino. I didn't even mention the poison pen joke. Right, it's a poison pen joke that is, oh my goodness, everyone's tied Fordyce and others are tied Fordyce too, right? That's the guy who plays Margaret Thatcher's husband, right, in For Your Eyes Only, I think. But right, did I get that right? But then so the but that joke is, oh, it's tired and worn out. But it's the same joke. I think right, Bond then uses what is an Octopussy, right? So in terms of the acid out of the, so it's like it's almost like this film is turning certain elements of the Eon franchise on its head before the films are even being made. So that alone, it boggles the mind. And so that's another example, I think, of where this film is very much a type of success, very much so. Not to mention other strong aspects of it that we were mentioning here: the musical score, the certain performances. I didn't mention a lot about. Well, I did mention maybe a bit about Peter Sellers. I think Peter Sellers, in a very interesting way, he's the most, say, his performance as Evelyn Tremble, or the character of Evelyn Tremble, is the most, maybe how should I put it? It's 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 very toned down in a lot of ways. There's a lot of stuff happening maybe regarding him, or revolving his character, and of course that's not to say that Peter Sellers is that way. I'm talking about the character of Evelyn Tremble. But there's a moment where there's the different costumes in Vesperlin's closet that he gets into, and so this is a type of play role acting that I think is Peter Sellers is known for a lot. For instance, you go to another film like Doctor Strangelove, you can get a great example of that. But when he's not doing that, he's very much there. It's like stuff happening around him, in a manner of speaking. But which is an interesting almost twist in and of itself. That's almost like Peter Sellers trying to make it serious in this zany world, but even the zaniness starts to creep in. And it's also by his presence that it, I think, adds to the whole decor and ambiance of the film being this huge carnival festival, circus of chaotic joy. And so that's how I see it. That's how this is a film of chaos and joy. And it's not for everyone. It's certainly not for everyone, but it's definitely one that it can. I think it can feel fun, and it can feel like there's just so much, and there's so many jokes packed into it that I think make for a fun ride for all concerned. So in that way, in that spirit, I would say that I would be. Um, I think I would be I continue to visit this film, and I continue to be entertained thoroughly by this film. I laugh out loud. I watched this film again for preparation of this live stream. I watched it again a few nights ago, and I was just laughing so hard at some of the jokes that, and just randomness. I love randomness in cinema. I love how just what's going on here, and it just makes me laugh. And yeah, uh, it's a mess. It's a great, glorious mess. It's chaos and joy. But, films can also be chaos, and they can be chaotic messes, and they can still be so much fun, and they can be so entertaining and so full of life. And that's what I think this film is, Casino Royale. It is so filled with energy and life, and it just explodes off the screen in many, many ways. So, um, this is the film from 1967. It is Casino Royale. Okay, so I think that is that's it from my side. Let me just go to the chat where I picked up. Let's see where I last left. Let me pick up where I last left off. And let's see here. 5 bags of popcorn says, Daisuke has a better grasp of the English language than me. I went to boarding school and was raised in London. Oh, that's very kind of you. I don't think my grasp of the English language is in any way good at all, but you're very kind all the same. Um, that's very kind of you. Thank you. I haven't been to London in such a long time. I'd love to visit again one day when it becomes possible. I I I love dime bars. I really love dime bars. And Lucozade. Cooper Clever. Oh, I'm sorry. Cooper Clever 1972 says interesting comparison to of Moonraker to Casino Royale. 10 miles outside. Hello. I'm assuming this has been mentioned. Sorry for entering late. That's okay. Not a problem. What's with this being the only movie not considered part of the James Bond world? David Niven being seen as a side Bond caused this movie isn't officially licensed. Infra Imagine says it's a mad world of 007 spoofs. I've always liked it. Seemingly everyone is in it. The score rocks. Amazing sets, especially Berlin and Dr. Noah's base. Yes, the Dr. Noah base is fantastic. It's gloriously nuts at the end. Yes. Well said. Well said, Infra Imagine. You said it so perfectly. Yeah, and Zaruth says this film not Eon made. A damn fool continues. Unfortunately, no one. Oh yeah, yeah. Um, let's see. Yeah, damn fool says Sellers is at his absolute best. He's really playing against type. Yeah, he's playing it very straight, and it's a great performance from him. Yeah, it's a good point. It is playing against type a lot of ways. Yes. Um, Hanno Charm says, while the movie has so many ideas and great comedy, I like that they kept the Baccarat game at its heart. Oh, very good point. Yes, the direction and the performances of Wells and Sellers sells the drama from the book. Yes, as well as the Vesper Lynn dynamic as well, which is still part of that story, and also part of this particular film adaptation, as you pointed out in an earlier comment. So, well done. Excuse me. Pardon me. I needed to hydrate. Um, Oh, Damfool says, mentions your commentary track. So please, this is another opportunity for me to say to everyone, visit Damfool Idealistic Crusaders YouTube channel. He talks about many, many things, including many things about James Bond. There are the commentary tracks. There's also the James Bond. There's the one of the recent videos about all the books that he has in his collection, the James Bond book collection, etc. So please check it out. Damn Fool Idealistic Crusader. Excuse me while I have to get rehydrated again. Excuse me, I'm very thirsty. It reminds me of a scene in a film which was directed by Sidney Lumet in the early 1970s called Murder on the Orient Express. It has its own James Bond connections because it stars, among other people, Albert Finney, who's in a James Bond film, Sean Connery, who's in a James Bond film, Jacqueline Bisset, who's in a James Bond film, and many others. And so Albert Finney, he's in this train car of the Orient Express, and he's talking, and he sits down. He says, I only wish. And you see him drinking, and he goes like this. Takes this long drink, and the camera stays there while he's drinking this water. And he puts it down. He says, in no cut, he says, I only wish I could describe it with the incomparable panache, subsequent verve, the enthralling tendencies, the delicate gestures, the immaculate expressions of the great tragic actress, blah, 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 blah. Yes, so that was a line from Murder on the Orient Express, Sidney Lumet film. Yes. Sorry, why was I mentioning? Oh, yes, because there was a scene in that film involving a main character drinking on screen a cup of water. It doesn't cut away from that. It's amazing. Yes. Let's see. And so, scrolling down here. So Mike says, really looking forward to next week, my friend. Yes, thank you. So next week, that reminds me that we will be talking about, same time, same place. We will be talking once again about For Your Eyes Only. And to repeat, the reason why we are doing this is because we did this some months back. We had already talked about For Your Eyes Only some months back, but unfortunately, due to my maybe YouTube uploading error of some sort, it wasn't removed or anything as far as I'm concerned. It was just my own error. I did something, I think, that caused it to be removed or caused it to be deleted by me. So that was totally on me, and I apologize. And so I want to make up for it as best as I can. And I thought the way that I could do that would be to have the discussion about For Your Eyes Only again. So we will be talking about For Your Eyes Only again. Same time, same place. So Sunday, 7 a.m. Tokyo time, which is what is that? It's what's today? Today's, what is that? Is that the, I'm forgetting the date. Is it the 26th? I want to say. Is it the 25th or the 26th? In any event, it's 26th. I want to say Sunday. Let me get my calendar here. Let's see. Yes, it's Sunday, the 26th of September, 2021 at 7 a.m. Tokyo time. So the same time that this today's session started, only next week. And then so we will be talking about For Your Eyes Only, Roger Moore as James Bond. So there will be a lot of ooh or ooh, ooh, ooh. So a lot of these. And so, and also I'm sorry, I didn't even mention in Casino Royale, Peter Sellers, Britt Eklund, that connection, and how this was, Britt Eklund, of course, is going to be part of the James Bond film legacy in a few years from here in terms of the Man with the Golden Gun. So, and that's Roger Moore as well. So, looking forward to that very much. So it'll be, I think, a casual conversation. Well, these are all, I would say, quite casual. So there's nothing. I don't want to add any kind of extra pressure here. It's just meant to be fun time, I hope. And so we will be talking about But even more so, I think I don't see any kind of structure. It'll just be a thing to say, oh, remember this part in For Your Eyes Only, remember that part in For Your Eyes Only, remember that, and so that kind of thing, I think. So just I hope you enjoy, um, and I'm looking forward to it very much, and also I do want to say that, as I mentioned earlier, I would like to do a live stream discussion about No Time to Die. And so I will try to time it in a way that it'll give people. I'm not sure what the situation with the streaming and with streaming and stuff like that in the States. Um, I'm not sure if I'll be able to go to the theater here in Japan. I'll try, as long as all precautions are taken by me. But I will, if it's possible, I'll try to go to the theater here because theaters are open. But I will try to go to the theater if it is indeed possible. Um, and maybe I don't know if opening night is possible for me, but maybe that weekend. I do want to see No Time to Die. I'm very curious as to what's going to happen. I have some guesses and I have some there are things that I've heard, just rumors, but I want to try to ignore those as much as possible. But at the same time, I do have certain ideas or guesses as to what could be happening. But again, I'm not sure. I'm absolutely not sure. Um, Going back to Casino Royale for a second, the whole thing with David Niven's Bond is that he returns, but he's kind of the M character. And so it got me thinking too, wouldn't it be great if we had past Bond actors appearing as the M character? And I would go back to Pierce Brosnan or George Lazenby or Timothy Dalton. If they bring a new Bond, if there's after No Time to Die, they haven't they Pierce if Daniel Craig leaves the role, and there's a new Bond actor playing the role of James Bond, that's great. But I would love it so much if they had Timothy Dalton as M. Oh gosh, I go back to Timothy Dalton all the time, but that would be so great if he were M. And and then just playing off with the new Bond, and just seeing what's going on there. But we'll see what happens. And anyway, maybe I'm getting way ahead of myself, and so let me just retreat a little bit and just say I will hopefully try to plan again within a reasonable time frame. Maybe around the midpoint of maybe the midpoint of October. I'm not sure, but it'll be again. I'm not sure yet because it's still fresh, and I know some people wouldn't be able to make it otherwise to be able to watch it. So I want to be very careful about the timing of it. Maybe we can plan it a little bit later. Maybe not in October, but maybe in November. But of course, I'm so eager to talk about it with someone as quickly as possible. So let me just try to think what the best possible situation could be for this discussion of No Time to Die. But I would like to do that very much one day. Um, let's see. Cooper Clever says, you won't be there next week. So not a problem, Cooper Clever, my dear friend. Not a problem at all. Um, we will miss you because it's not the same without you. But you have to do you have stuff you have to do. Of course. So, my dear friend, thank you very much for that heads up. But I hope, yeah, not a problem. But you will be there in spirit, right, as you always are. Vaughn Jarvis here. Hello, it's nice to see you. Damful says next week, if, for your eyes only stream, a delicatessen in stainless steel crossbows, de chevaux, and some pistachio nuts. Yes, and not to mention Charles Dance. And what did I do that last time? Did I do the what is it? The my whole thing with only for you, only for you. Yeah, sorry. I don't want to give a disgusting kind of look at my lips, but that's the whole thing with the the legacy of the opening title sequence of For Your Eyes Only, right? It's the lips, right? So Yashina Easton, yes. So, but anyway, Yeah. So sorry about that. Sorry, it was probably a shock to a lot of people. Saying, what is this? I don't want to see. I don't want to see the close up of the hairy lips of Daisuke Beppu. What is this? This is terrible. Thumbs down. Yeah. Sorry about that. I apologize. But yes. Okay. Um, Damful says, oh yes, Cooper Clever says, I know you were talking about the starter. Yes. So this is after the after the yeah, the Star Trek discussions. I would love to do, although like it's tough. Like I keep going back and forth. I'd love to do that, but what should I like? Oh gosh, but I do want to do Star Trek though. Yes. Let's see. Um, Inframagine says, "Oh wow, the On Her Majesty's Secret Service stream was the day before my birthday, over a year ago. Wow, it'll be still fun and interesting to watch the record. Wow, was it over a year ago? Wow, things have changed. Things have changed. I think I was. I think about it. I think I was pretty. I was. I was probably still a bit not quite used to it, and so as the live streams have progressed over the course of the film discussions, I think I've gotten a little bit more relaxed in terms of my approach to the discussion. So maybe that first one seems maybe a bit tight, a bit too stiff, as it were. But I hope you enjoy it all the same. Um, Damful says, "No worries. We all burst into Bond songs at random moments. I was brushing my teeth last night and suddenly belted out 'Dirty Love' for no reason at all." That's interesting. You know, I don't know about you. Sometimes I just randomly hum songs or the themes tunes to movies that I've like random ones. I think one of the most random ones I do. I still do it now. Do you know the films? I mean, do you know the films The Howling? There are a number of sequels in this Howling films. This films about werewolves, horror films about werewolves. And there's a particular sequel which I think is really strong, which is called Howling 5. And so uh, even now to this, I hum the theme song or the theme tune to Howling 5. Like I'm just maybe walking or I'm you know, at the dinner table. I'm just humming the theme song to Howling 5. No one knows what this song is or what this theme tune is, but I'm just humming the theme song to Howling 5, and I do that sometimes, but I don't know why. Zyrithus, can we at least do both Tron films in the interim? Oh, Tron, greetings program. As I've seen Tron so many times. Ah, I love that. I love. Oh gosh. Um, and we can talk about the whole thing with, what's up with the helmet, Yori's helmet. Yes, that that had me. That had my mind in knots when I saw that as a kid. What's going on when they're on the Solar Sailor and what's going on with Yori's helmet? Why is it suddenly this helmet and then it goes by like so? And oh gosh, David Warner. Wow, David Warner would make a great M. Wow. Um, Gosh. And speaking of Star Trek. And I was just watching Body Bags last night, in fact, and that has a great memorable role by David Warner. I was speaking about The Omen just an hour or so ago with the Damien Omen 2 and Sylvia Sidney and William Holden, who was in Casino Royale. And the first Omen film, of course, we know has David Warner in it. So, um, yeah, what was I saying? What were we talking about? Oh, Tron. Yeah, so Tron. Yes. Yes. Sark. Yes. There's gosh, am I getting ahead of myself? This is not a spoiler of Tron, I think, but when Sark is when there's this confrontation or Sark is talking with a particular character in this film Tron, he says, he's about to attack him. He says, "Prepare to terminate." Boom. And I was always perplexed by this line, "Prepare to terminate," because he should really say, "Prepare to be terminated," because he's meant to say it as a threatening line, saying you're going to be perished, you're going to be derezzed. But he says, prepare to terminate means he's saying to his opponent, prepare to terminate someone other than you. The only other person in the room, or in this arena is me. So what he's actually saying is prepare to terminate me, which is very self-defeating, I always thought. But anyway, so that's and MCP, master control program, and end of line. I can't do any master MCP impersonation. The only thing I could is end of line. And I loved the bit too. I didn't think about it until recently, but when I saw Tron Legacy, and you have the whole thing, there's a room in the film Tron in this arcade called Flynn's, and it's kind of above the arcade. And I didn't think about it until recently, but there's a similar type of setup in the world of Tron Legacy, involving a similar character and looking out into the expanse of the world below this particular character. And I thought, wow, this parallel is amazing. But anyway, so the Tron. So yes, shall we talk about Tron one day? I love this film. I love this film, Tron. I've seen it so many times. Um, Tron and Ram and Flynn and I was so fascinated by the way that the colors could change. Flynn does it like that thing like jin 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 jin. So that's cool stuff. Cool stuff. Um, and Was it finish the game? No, no, and he drops the thing. No. And then like da 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 da. Oh, great. And then the light cycle sequence. Da 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 da. And there's a bit in the light cycle sequence when the three of them they go to like the edge of a cliff, and there's like the three of them, they like stop, like they break, dun, 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 and then they back up and they turn. I love that whole thing with the backup because it's great too, because it's the whole setup with the tanks as well that occurs a few seconds after that. Oh, what a great film Tron is. So maybe one day I'd love to have that discussion. But Zyrother, wow, that is a great suggestion. I love it. I absolutely love it. Um, let's see, and yes, David Warner in a Bond film. I'm on board. Mike says I'm on board for a Tron live stream. Oh yes. Yes, and from Imagine says Harry Palmer films. Oh yes, that's an interesting one. Um, let's see. Great. Yes, Hano Charm, thank you so much. So yes, No Time to Die. Let's do that. And then also next week for Your Eyes Only. Love to see it. Yes. Cooper Clever 1972. Yes, the Simpsons joke. Yes. Talking about this whole thing about what the world's like. Has anyone ever seen the movie Tron? No, 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 no. Yes. I mean, no, no. Yeah. Yeah, love it. Yeah. Simpsons too. Um Speaking of, there's mention of Batman 66. There's a great joke in the Simpsons episode. I think it's season 5. I think the B sharps, baby on board something something. Burt Ward. This thing writes itself, right? So, or the what is it? Another one. Radioactive Man. What is it? Oh, the goggles, they do nothing, or something, right? Or one of the great names. I just can't wrap my head around just how brilliant this name is. What is it? Yeah, again, this is if you don't know The Simpsons, I apologize, but there's a bit where someone says, "Do this for me, Billy." For you, McGarnacle. Uh, well, McGarnacle, Billy's dead. So McGarnacle, yes. Do it for you. Do it. Do it for me, Billy. Yes, for you, McGarnacle. Yes, a McGarnacle. Oh yes, Simpsons, the glory days of the Simpsons. Yes. Um, Sorry again. I really apologize. Yeah. um, yes. Not to mention, what does Willie do between 4 and 5? Willie's time, right? For anyone who knows The Shining. Oh my goodness. Anyway, the um, they did a Nightmare on Elm Street one as well. But I enjoyed the Shinning the best, I think. Um, I do like the Tron episode one, though. I'm talking about the Treehouse of Horrors. Okay, so I think I am going to get going in about a minute or so. So, anyone is, yes, that's right. Yes, that's strange. Usually the blood gets off at the second floor. Yes. Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Oh, Sexy Monkey's here. Hello. Yes. Um, and for Imagine, I love the Treehouse of Horrors one with Homer inventing the time toaster. Yes. Yes. Dad, your hand's caught in the toaster. Ah, right, right. That's the one, right? Dad, it's in there again. Ah, right. Is that the one? Right. That's the one where it gets the whole ball rolling, right? Um, yeah. The Yeah, I go back to the. Oh, thank you, thank you. Yes. Um, yeah. Simpsons. There have been a lot of Simpsons, James Bond, James Bond references as well. You know, Scorpio. Da 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 da. Right, I know that one. So, Hank Scorpio. It's great. They should. Yeah, they should. Maybe they should have Albert Brooks as Le Chiffre. That would be great in season 2 of the Casino Royale TV series. Talk about meta, right? Meta upon meta. But anyway. All right, so let's end it there. And so I want to say once again, my dear friends, thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Let's see. So we will see each other next time at same time, same place in case you are interested. So thank you once again, my dear friends. And yeah, I will see you at the next one. So cheers. Thank you. Bye bye. Bye bye. See you, everyone. Thank you so much again, my friends. Thank you.